But yeah, that little sweet little triple just pulls super clean. Doesn't mind the rev. Quick shifter works nicely, brakes are working nicely. I'm loving this. What a tough day at the office. So here we are on the updated Triumph Trident 660. Now available, the big change is that it's now available in both the Lambs model, which I am on, and the fully unrestricted, full fat, full sugar model, which I'll be jumping on after this. I wanted to start on the Lambs bike just to sort of reacquaint myself with, what the I guess the existing model that we had available here in Australia was like, and it's exactly what I remember. Just a sweet little bike, beautiful, creamy, smooth engine, really nice progressive handling, quite agile as you would expect. It's a lightweight bike, but it just, it throws itself from one side to the other really nicely and progressively. I think I want to dial up some preload on the rear shock just a little bit, which I do remember that's what we did on the last launch as well, on the old bike. Yeah, I'm getting back and getting the feel for it again. I think I said something along the lines of, is this the bike that will take all the other Lambs to the slaughter when I first rode it, which was a bit tongue-in-cheek. Well, only half tongue-in-cheek, because I actually really think this is one of the best Lambs options out there. So much so that I recommended this bike to my sister and her partner. They went out and test rode it and bought two of them, so there you go. So yeah, I rate these pretty highly, and I think they're still pretty good value. They are up a bit in terms of, for a learner bike, what you're prepared to pay. They're 14 and a bit, but man, this is a quality machine for that money. Really nicely built, beautiful finish, and it just feels solid. When you jump on some bikes and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but this feels really nice when you get on it. Feels good. Okay, well here we are at the end of day one. We're now about 20 minutes from Mount Buller, which is that way. We've had a hot and sweaty day, super humid, which you can probably tell by some of the clouds behind us, but we've had a good day today. The update on the Trident, it's not a massive mechanical update. Lots of electronic updates and kind of optional extras that were optional that are now included in the price. That price is a bit over 14 grand for what that's worth. The other main update is that they're now bringing in the non-Lambs bike, so the full power bike, 81 horsepower on the full power, about 54 on the Lambs bike, remember, it's from last time as well. There is a noticeable difference, especially sort of second gear. It will lift the front, the full power bike, whereas if you want to do wheelies on the Lambs bike, you kind of need to do it in first. But we've had fun today. Mechanically, it remains a really nice, predictable, smooth, lovely bike. Just as good as, obviously, as what the last gen was. But let's talk about the electronic changes for a little bit. So we now get cornering, ABS and traction control. We get cruise control. We get turn-by-turn nav when you download the Triumph app on your phone. And you get an extra mode, an extra ride mode too. So now we've got sport, road, and wet. All in all, this is still an awesome little bike, a lovely little bike.
it's super intuitive in the corners. Like it feels really solid and really light and agile. It feels lighter than 190 kilos, which is what the wet weight of this is. It absolutely feels lighter than that. I'm surprised by that figure. But in the corners, it's just really fluid and smooth, and yeah, just a joy to ride. So we've had a great day coming up here through the twisties. We came up from Melbourne and came up through Flowerdale and Yea and come across through Mansfield, and some of those roads were just yeah, really peachy today. In the morning, we're going to head up Buller, and then we're going to head back to yeah, do the Jamison Eildon Road, which is always a ripper. Should be amazing on these bikes. So yeah, we'll see how we go in the morning, and we'll catch you then.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the Trident, which is of no surprise to me. I'm really loving this unrestricted version. It's nice and lively, but just super usable. Like, it's not intimidating in any way. So, you know, for younger, less experienced riders, all the way through to experienced riders, you know, like myself, this is a good, fun, you know, a good, fun bike. We were talking to the boys from Triumph UK, you know, headquarters last night, and they were saying that there's a reasonable chunk of punters who are buying these bikes as a second bike. You know, they're experienced riders, they've got a sports bike already, and they're looking for something that's just, you know, turned down a little bit from 11. It's a bit more comfortable, it's a bit more, you know, easier to ride around town, and it can do all of that stuff without making you work hard for it, which, you know, sports bikes can. And what a great little tool this is, you know. And now, obviously, the full power version that customers in Europe have been getting the option of for years now. We've got the option of that in Australia, which is great. Interestingly enough, you know, James from Triumph in the UK last night was saying one of the key benefits of the cornering ABS and cornering traction control, which obviously uses the 6-axis IMU, is one of the benefits is that it actually allows you to not only you know, trail the brakes a lot more comfortably into corners, but it allows the engineers to dial up a little bit more braking capability in a straight line as well, because they're not making a compromise when you've only got the one set ABS setting. They're not making a compromise assuming that, well, you know, the conditions might not be great, you might be leant over in a corner, so you've kind of, you know, in their words, they were saying that you've got to back it down a little bit, and you can get more braking performance out of this sort of system. So I found that interesting. What else can I tell you? Oh, so the cruise control is up here on my left. It's this button here, and unlike most conventional cruise control systems, there's no ability to adjust or fine-tune your cruising speed up or down. It's basically a speed lock system, if you like. So essentially what happens is, you know, one tap to turn it on, and you'll see a light will come on the dash here when I do it right now. There it is. So that's activated the system, and then all I do is just tap it again, and there it goes green. So that's we're on cruise control now. And then, like any other cruise control, you roll off the throttle or on the throttle, or, you know, dab a brake lever and it will come off. But yeah, it's interesting that there is no speed adjustment. That's not going to be an issue for anybody if they're riding by themselves. You know, if you're in a group, sometimes that fine tuning of speed can be handy, or if you're in traffic. But I think it's a pretty good system. I have no issue with it. Super easy to use. You know, if there is a single weak point of the bike, and I feel bad calling it a weak point, because I think it's more that the rest of the bike is actually so good. In fact, I would say that overall this is a great bike in every single way, and I would say the rear shock is just a good rear shock. So it is kind of the weak link, if you like. if you're really, really wanting to get the most out of it. But again, as was pointed out last night, if that's the sort of rider that you are and you're experienced enough to be able to feel the difference, then you might be better off with a Street Triple, which has a better spec shock. So, you know, there needs to be some model delineation in there. I understand that. I think that's fair enough. So, you know, I've come around a bit, you know, this morning. I think the shock is okay. I've backed it off from a setting of 5 to 4. The stock setting is at 1 for a solo rider, and the manual basically says if you've got a pill-in or if you've got any luggage, dial it up to maximum. So it's up to you to find somewhere in between that is going to be, you know, a comfortable you. I think for me, I had it on 5 yesterday. I've dialed it back to 4 today. It's been, you know, super compliant and comfortable. And that's why you got to have a little bit in reserve on roads like this. Nice little brick sized rock there. Let's get these tyres up to temp a bit. So I have changed settings. Stick. I did have it in road mode before with traction control turned off, so I could do some hijinks. I've now flicked it over into sport. TC is on. That was a fucking good size rock, that one. Yeah, just because I want to feel how good the TC is. Sport mode doesn't give you any more power, it just sharpens up throttle response, so you don't need to twist that mitt quite as far. I actually don't mind the road setting, but it does also change the TC setting apparently. It just, in fact, I don't know what it does. I assume it gives you a little bit more slip. There's a fair bit of shit on the road. A few sticks around on those, big bump I didn't see. Handled it pretty well. I'm okay with the rear preload set at 4 so far. No doubt if I was really on the charge, I'd probably wick it up a bit more, but I think on a bumpy road where you're only doing 8/10, I think it's not bad. What a lovely little bike. I know I keep saying it, but this road, it's pretty rough and bouncy and choppy. It's taking it all pretty happily. Oh man, this is lovely. What a ripper engine. It's not a powerhouse, don't get me wrong, it's making 80 horsepower. But it's so smooth. Nice and smooth and torquey. There's no hiccups, there's no dips, none of that. It just does its thing. And the front end of this bike, very nice. Oh, there's a lot of bark here. We might just pick our way through that. Yeah, lovely front end. Really, really nice front end. You can feel what's going on. Nice and light. It's nimble without being flighty. So TC was on the last version, but all the other electronics are new. I guess the most important one being that it's now a 6-axis. I'm new controlling that, as well as cornering ABS, so you know, it's a much better system. And those brakes are good. Nissan brakes, nice feel. They're not too bitey, they're strong enough. They're not fading at all. Always a bit nervous about these shadowed corners. You can't really see. That's okay. So I think, you know, you're going to have a bunch of pretty happy journos. Me, one of them. I am a bit OCD about, you know, systems in terms of being able to turn systems on and off pretty quickly. But as the Triumph boys reminded me last night, that's not really what this bike is about. In terms of being able to quickly turn your TC off, for instance, which isn't a quick thing on this bike. But I'm letting that go, as they say. And everything's just easy. Like this is the perfect bike actually for this road. This can be a really challenging road on a high-powered bike. I mean, as you can see, it's fairly tight, speeds are fairly low, so anything with really stiff suspension is not going to be that great on this road. But this little thing, super nimble, super compliant. I'm loving this. What a tough day at the office.
All right, here we are, day 2. We're going to do a little bit of a wrap up on the Trident launch and the update. Really cracking bike actually. I'm really happy with it as an overall package. It just feels really solid and well thought out and well put together, which is no surprise. The old model, which was the lambs only version, though I rated that as kind of top in the class when it first came out, you know, a few years ago now, and now we've got the full fruit version, which is excellent. So a few little stats. We're talking 190 kilos. The full power version is 81 horsepower or thereabouts, as opposed to the lambs model, which is 54, I think. 14 and a bit grand for both. We've got the 3 colorways here: the yellow, the blue, and the red. I actually prefer the yellow. I think it's in person, it's probably the nicest color choice. But you know, we talk about the main updates. Yes, the full power version is obviously at the top of the list, and then the rest of the updates are mainly electronics. As you know, we're talking traction control, we're talking the quick shifter, we've got integrated turn-by-turn nav, and we've got cruise control as well. The cruise control, interestingly enough, it's kind of like a speed lock rather than an adjustable cruise control when it's on. I think that's fine, especially if you're riding by yourself. It's never going to be a problem. Quick shifter is beautiful, works really nicely, and complements that great little 660 triple just wonderfully. That engine is just super smooth from the bottom all the way through. You know, it's really well balanced. Mid-range is amazing. On the full power version, more than happy to pop up the front in second gear as opposed to probably first gear for the lambs version. But you know, I think the key takeaway here is that it's just such a great little well-balanced, well-executed package overall. Sweet handling. There's no sort of shortcomings across the entire bike. I think they've done a great job with the update here, which is probably why they haven't changed a huge amount, like mechanically wise and spec wise from the outgoing model. Essentially, think of it as you are getting more bang for your buck. So you're getting a whole bunch of electronic updates over the outgoing model. And the non-lambs version looks exactly the same as the lambs version. One of these is a lambs version, the other two aren't. You can't tell the difference because they look exactly the same. So yeah, I think it's a cracking bike for both you know, a younger, more inexperienced rider. Perfect bike to jump onto and really sort of hone your craft. But even for more experienced riders like myself, road like this, we're out near Eildon. The Eildon-Jamison Road is an absolute cracker. Couldn't think of a better bike to do it on than something like this. You know, it's not going to be a handful like a high-powered, you know, hard, firm sports bike can be on this road, which is very twisty, very bumpy. It's going to be great on these. We've already had a little section this morning. It's El Primo. So, yeah, done a great job. I think, yeah, they deserve to sell a bucket load more of these things, as they already have in the outgoing model. So nice work, Triumph. How good are motorbikes?